What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising with new topics every single weekend, jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC, and we're fresh off of UFC 320. It was a fantastic pay-per-view, dare I say the best pay-per-view of the year, and we actually reviewed it on episode 229 of the Surprise Jab Podcast, but today we will be dropping our predictions for UFC Rio. That's right, we are headed down to Brazil to UFC Rio de Janeiro. Charles Oliveira is back. That's right, we get 2 Charles Oliveira fights this year. I consider that a blessing. He'll be taking on Mateusz Gamrot in the main event, and we have 12 other fights besides that to drop our predictions for on today's episode. We also have our Week 6 quick picks for the NFL, and I need some big fantasy performances this week, so you best know we're going to be dropping the locks. And my best bet last week, my lock was the Patriots at plus 380, and they won. I was so happy when that went down. We also have a movie review. We haven't done a movie review in a while, and it is of the new football kind of scary Jordan Peele movie, Him. Saw it with my boy Ryan. I have my official review of that film. We're also going to be previewing WWE Crown Jewel. We have another WWE PLE going down this Saturday, and you already know we got to talk about it and what I think will take place. We're also going to recap Dana White's Contender Series, episode 9.9, season 9, episode 9. It was fantastic. It might have been the best of all time. This season has been incredible, and we have a look at the updated UFC rankings to kick off today's episode. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Super pumped for it, and this is actually my final episode being recorded in my, I guess, childhood bedroom, if you will, as I will be moving to Chicago. That is right. I'm going to be shacking it up. I was going to say chilling. I was just going to be living with my GPT, my grandpa, for now GPT. His name is Grandpa Tom, which is kind of funny that most people call their grandparents by the last name, but we call ours in my family by his first name. Funny how that works out, but yes, I will be moving from Minnesota to Illinois, and just like I'll be moving from this intro into the video, just like that, as we look at the new updated UFC rankings. That's right, I'm done just trying to drag out this intro. I'm ready to jump into today's episode. I'm sure you guys are too, and in case you're wondering, yes, the UFC rankings did update after UFC 320, and a lot of stuff took place. I mean, I do gotta say, they went kind of ham on updating the rankings here, so without further ado, let's check it out. Starting us off, we'll head to the women's bantamweight division, as Yana Santos is now ranked in here at number 5, following her win over Macy Chiasson, who drops to number 7, and Yana Santos being ranked at 5 is utterly just hilarious to me. I feel like she's gotten here with the easiest winning streak of all time. I genuinely am so perplexed how she is wound up here at number 5, and I don't even know who she should fight. Like, if I'm being honest, how about Hawkwell Penton? Just because why not? Or Juliana Pena. Let's give Juliana Pena a fight that's not for the belt for once. I mean, she has fought for a belt her last 3 freaking matchups. How is that even? No, it's like 4. It's like 4 or 5 straight matchups Julia Pena has fought for a women's bantamweight championship. So Yana Santos, Juliana Pena, let's just make that happen. I mean, because why not? Why not? There's really nothing else we can lose from that. For Macy Chiasson, she's at number 7. Aileen Perez actually gets bumped down to number 8. And Mara Bueno Silva drops 2 spots to number 10. For Macy, I think facing off with someone like Jocelyn Edwards, someone like Jacqueline Cavalcante, someone in the bottom 15, that's what's going to be next for Macy Chiasson. And as for Aileen Perez, she may be bumped down to number 8, but I think she deserves a shot at someone in the top 5. Heck, we could even do Aileen Perez versus Yana Santos. Actually, is she taking on Ketlin Vieira? I swear, we need to get Aileen Perez another matchup. She was going to be my breakout fighter of the year and has literally had 1 fight this entire year. So, yeah, let's try and get her into the top 5. And as for Mayra Bueno Silva, I genuinely don't know what to do with her, and she actually has a fight booked coming up here, UFC Vegas 111. She's taking on Jacqueline Cavalcante. Well, that fight just rates itself good enough for me. So, yeah, Mayra Bueno Silva taking on the number 10 ranked Jacqueline Cavalcante, or number 11th ranked. So, yeah, that's all booked. But, yeah, women's bantamweight division, kind of boring. It's the only other women's division that has had any action. Women's flyweight, nothing going down. Women's strawweight, nothing. Women's pound for pound, nothing. We're just waiting for that Valentina Shevchenko-Zhang Weili fight. That fight's coming up here in just over a month, and after that, I'm sure the women's division will be forever changed, one could say. Heavyweight division, no new changes, but we do have top 15 heavyweights going at it to this upcoming card. Walter Walker, ranked at number 15, will be taking on Muhammad Usman. We'll be talking about that later in the episode. Light heavyweight, that's where we have some new changes as we have a new champion. Alex Pereira is now your light heavyweight champion. He has returned to his spot, and he is no longer ranked. He is now a champion. He's in the champion spot of the rankings. But as for the rankings, Magomedov Ankalaev drops down to number 1, and tied with him, moving up a spot, is Jiri Prochazka. There's no one even ranked at number 2. It's just Jiri and Magomed both equally ranked at number 1. I absolutely love that. Makes perfect sense if you ask me. I think Jiri's got a date with the number 3 ranked Carlos Ulberg coming up. I think they may fight for a vacant championship, because if what I think will happen, Alex Pereira will move up to face the winner of Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane. Elsewhere at light heavyweight, we can see Khalil Roundtree Jr. drops 1 spot from 4 to 5. Jan Blachowicz moves up to number 4 as rumors of him and Bogdan Guskov facing off at UFC Qatar are still in the air. As what's next for Khalil Roundtree Jr., it could be the winner of Rakic and Azamat Murzakanov. It could even be the winner of Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Guskov. Dare I even say Dominic Reyes? I don't know, but he'll probably be fighting in the first quarter, we'll say, of 2026. Moving on to a middleweight, Joe Pyfer gets in the rankings at number 15. He replaces Ikram Kasarov following his victory over Albus Magomedov. That's who he beat at UFC 320. And Joe Pyfer called out Marvin Vettori, Roman Dolidze, and Jared Cannonier. He said he didn't want to fight Paulo Costa. Look, all right, Joe's at 15, Vettori's at 14, Costa's at 13, Dolidze at 12, Cannonier at 11. He's taking on one of those guys next. I could see them even being an Apex main event at this rate. So if it's up to me, I'm booking Joe Pyfer, Roman Dolidze. I think that's a perfect fight to make, but happy for Joe Pyfer to be back in the rankings, and I think he's ready to make another run after shockingly losing to Jack Hermanson last year in 2024. No new changes at welterweight or lightweight, as we've had some big fights being announced. We do have changes at featherweight as Yusuf Zalal moves from 9 to 7 following his minute and 20-second victory of Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett and Brian Ortega both drop 1 spot, Ortega to 8, Emmett to 9, as Zalal kind of joins the upper echelons of the featherweight division. I'm a little confused why Arnold Allen's there at 6. I'm actually very perplexed how Arnold Allen is still ranked 6. Did you know his last win was at UFC 304 in July of 2024 over Giga Chikadze, who's ranked number 15. That's the last time Arnold Allen had a fight, and yet he's still ranked at number 6. Makes no sense. But if you ask me, Yusuf Zalal should face Yair Rodriguez. That's the fight I think should be made next between those two. Book that fight. If not, it could be anyone in the top 5. I mean, Yusuf Zalal knows his spot, knows what his worth is. He's called out Leroy Murphy. He's called out Movsar Evloev. Book any of those fights. Yusuf Zalal is ready. As for Brian Ortega and Josh Emmett, I don't know what to do with those guys. Brian Ortega has done jack dilly squat since losing to Aljamain Sterling earlier this year in Shanghai. Actually, that was like 2 months ago just about. So no idea what he's going to do. And as for Josh Emmett, yeah, I think Josh Emmett should retire or have one last go around with Gene Silva or Patricio Pitbull. One of the two. Moving on to bantamweight, Montel Jackson gets in the rankings at number 15 with his matchup coming up against the number 6 ranked Deiveson Figueiredo. I did not realize a 6 and 15 gap was how big that was. We're going to be talking about that, the co-main event for UFC Rio on today's episode. And Petr Yan just gets randomly moved up to number 2 in the rankings. Corey Sandhagen doesn't drop whatsoever. Makes sense that he doesn't, but yeah, Petr Yan versus Merab is probably the next move you should make. But as for now, we'll look for Montel Jackson and Deiveson Figueiredo. Who will I pick in that matchup? We'll have to see later on the episode. Moving to flyweight, Rafael Estevam, the undefeated 14-0 flyweight, moves into the number 15 spot, and Bruno Silva moves up to number 14, as I think they kicked Kaya Sakura off, if I'm not mistaken. Bruno Silva has nothing going on for him at the moment. Oh wait, he has a fight booked with Hyung Sung Park coming up here in 1 week. Ooh, so best of luck to him. As for Estevam, maybe a matchup with Steve Ursing. That could suit you. But now let's get into the real reason we wanted to talk about the new updated rankings. That's the men pound for pound. The men's pound for pound rankings have updated, and we have some big changes. Magomedov Ankalaev drops 4 spots from 7 to 11 as he still remains in the pound for pound, but is now outside the top 10. Dricus du Plessis is 1 spot above him at 10. Coming in at number 7 is Volkanovski, who drops 1 spot to make room for the number 6 pound-for-pound fighter, jumping 4 spots, Alex Poatan Pereira. That's right, Pereira back in it at number 6. Makes sense. I could rock with him at number 6, especially passing Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski and Pereira were both kind of written off, maybe more so Volkanovski, but I would say Volkanovski going 5 rounds with Diego Lopez is impressive, but Alex Pereira going out and starching Magomed in 80 seconds was insanely impressive. So really like that. I'll be curious to see what Poatan does next. Will he defend it against Carlos Ulberg? Will he move up to heavyweight? We'll have to see. Now, the really interesting point here is that Merab Dvalishvili is still at number 3. I don't think he should be at number 3. Ahead of him is Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. And as of right now, if you're asking me, Ilia Topuria probably could be number 1. We could probably keep him there, but Merab went out. He's had 3 title defenses this year. He has beaten prime Sean O'Malley twice in the last year. He has beaten prime Umar Nurmagomedov and prime Corey Sandhagen. All four fights have happened in just over a year. Literally over a year by like 2 weeks. So Merab has been on an absolute killing spree. I mean, he definitely should be number 1 in my book. And with Islam Makhachev going to fight Jack Della Maddalena, if he beats that, he'll become a double champion in lightweight and welterweight and tie Anderson Silva's winning record of 16 straight wins. So obviously he'll move to number 1. I just think when any of these 3 guys fight now, they should just pass each other. And we should just always have that conversation going. But they did my boy Merab dirty. 14 straight wins for him. I think he has the best chance right now to go on and have the longest winning streak in UFC history. As of right now, I think Merab has the best chance. I mean, genuinely, who could beat him? Who? Sean O'Malley again? No. Umar Nurmagomedov again? Maybe, but we'll have to see how Umar looks against Mauro Bautista. Who's the other name we could throw in there? Mauro Bautista ain't beating him. Song Yadong ain't beating him. Petr Yan, maybe. Petr Yan might have the best chance, and we already saw how that first fight went. So, yeah, tough to say. I wish Merab was higher, but still being number 3 pound for pound, I can rock with it. And the 2 guys ahead of you, Islam Makhachev and Topuria, both absolute killers. So those are your updated UFC rankings. A lot of fun stuff. But then some other random changes. They randomly just be updating, even when fighters aren't fighting. Like Brian Ortega and Aileen Perez and Rafael Esfam. Like, guys aren't even fighting, and they're just updating the rankings. So beats me, but yeah, good stuff all around for the rankings. I'll tell you what else was some good stuff, and that was Dana White's Contender Series 9.9. I mean, it was insane, guys. It was insane. This was one of the more fun episodes of Dana White's Contender Series that I have had the privilege of watching. And when people mention how good 9.9 was, it is warranted. We go 4-1 in our predictions. We obviously don't officially predict, but we did witness probably the greatest fight in Dana White's Contender Series history. And Dana White, for the first time ever, awarded contracts immediately after the fight and gave each fighter 2 $25K performance bonuses, which he's never done before. So without further ado, let's recap what, I've said multiple times on this season, but with this one, I can officially say maybe the best Dana White's Contender Series episode I've ever watched. Starting us off, Luke Fernandez and Rafael Pergantino. So the odds before this fight were like plus 700. Minus 700, so minus 700 and plus 700. By the time the fight closed, Rafael Pergantino was at plus 900, and Luke Fernandez was nearing minus 1,500. And you may be like, wow, those odds are really intense. I wonder why. Well, Luke Fernandez goes out there and knocks him out in 15 seconds to improve to 6-0. It was crazy. It was crazy, like legit. Luke Fernandez just goes in, lands one big overhand, puts him down, just starts landing punches on his face. And at first I thought it was a premature stoppage, but then when I saw the angle that the referee was working with, that Jason Herzog saw, I realized that it was a warranted stop. And by the way, Rafael Pergantino had no business being on Dana White's Contender Series. We knew this from our breakdown of the episode, breakdown of the pre-show, breakdown on the pre-show, I think is the correct grammatical term I should use. When we were looking at this and we were like, this guy has no business being in here, and it showed. The 30-year-old Luke Fernandez improves to 6-0, 5 of his wins by KO, and I mean, this guy is just an absolute savage. I cannot wait to see him at light heavyweight, and the light heavyweights on this season have been looking very, very good. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table in their upcoming bouts whenever they debut at the end of this year, beginning of next year, who knows. But yeah, Luke Fernandez starches Rafael Pergantino. Rafael will fall to 5-1. And by the way, he's only 23. Like, this kid can easily come back, bring the energy, in 7 years or something. But for now, back to the unranked scene. As for Luke Fernandez, light heavyweights galore. I don't know who to matchmake this guy with to start out, but it's definitely got to be someone fun. I saw people maybe throwing out some names that, Billy Alencana, Ivo Aslan, I don't know, but Dana White said when he awarded him the contract, he said, I didn't see much from you, so get into the UFC and let's show us what you're made of. And I mean, it's so true. We saw this guy land one punch and the fight was over. So, Luke Fernandez, welcome to the UFC. I'm excited to see what you bring to the table once you make your debut. Next up, Luis Felipe Diaz taking on Donovan Hedrick, and Luis Felipe Diaz gets the victory. He improves to 17-5, gets his 16th career finish. Or no, I think it's 15. He either has 15 of his 16 wins, or no, it was 15 out of 16, so now it's 16 out of 7. Ooh, very interesting here, and he gets his 8th career submission. Good for him. But yeah, Luis Felipe Diaz, this was his third opponent that he finally got to, so thankfully he was able to. And Donovan Hedrick did not make this easy for Luis, none whatsoever. I mean, Donovan clearly had some skills on the feet. Luis ate 26 significant strikes. He only landed 17. Really relied on his grappling here, okay? 4 of 7 on takedowns, 3.5 minutes of control time. And to be fair, Donovan went 2 of 6 for 1.5 minutes control time. But eventually it led us into round 2, and these two were getting, I wouldn't say gassed, but they were certainly throwing it all out at each other. That's one thing I really saw this entire episode with every fighter. Every fighter fought like this was their last opportunity to get into the UFC, and it really showed. Truly, it showed here. Now, Luis Felipe Diaz was able to get down, took the back, was working him for a while, and eventually locked in a rear naked choke, and Donovan Hedrick was forced to tap, suffering his first ever defeat. Now, to be fair to Donovan Hedrick, this was the first time he had ever left round 1, so to really have this be the first time you've left round 1, going almost to the end of round 2 before getting submitted against a guy with over 20 more professional fights than you, really shows that he can still hang. So Donovan Hedrick, I would like to see him back in the middleweight division. Donovan's currently 28, so maybe if he goes out, has a big start to 2026, gets 3 wins or something, he could come back on season 10, dare I even say season 11, or even step in on short notice. But I do see the potential with Donovan Hedrick. Unfortunately, Luis Felipe Diaz just had a better skill set. We correctly predicted it as well, and Dana wasn't too sold on him, which I can't blame him. I won't say that Luis Felipe Diaz was overly flattering in his victory. That's one thing I'll note. But, for a guy who was coming in with 9 of his wins coming by round 1 finish, showing the growth into round 2, I'm excited to see what he delivers in the middleweight division. There's going to be unlimited middleweights for him to fight, and people are saying he should fight Ozzy Diaz in his debut, who was supposed to fight Oteba Gaudier on short notice last weekend, and I could easily see that being a good matchup. So, Luis Felipe Diaz, welcome to the UFC. I don't know how far he's going to go compared to someone like Luke Fernandez or the next kid we're going to talk about, but I definitely do see him being, maybe somewhat successful in the UFC. Next up, flyweight division. We love flyweights. We need flyweights. And Emmanuel Rodriguez is going to be the next big thing at flyweight. He trains with DC. The kid was coming in from Mexico, 25 years old. He had lost by split decision in a 50-50 fight to the winner of the Ultimate Fighter, in the semifinals on this past season. And he comes out here, takes on a guy in Roque Conceiero, who was 10-2 coming in and, having double the fight experience. And he absolutely shut him down. Finished the fight in 2 minutes, 12 seconds, landed 3 knockdowns in that time span, which means this guy, as of right now, averages a knockdown basically every, I want to say, 50 seconds. Like that's an insane stat to have right now. You not even every 40 seconds or something. I mean, just ridiculous. Roque Conceição, people are saying he was, you could use the thing that he had 10 more professional fights than him. But to be fair, I mean, you could just see the skill level here. Emmanuel Rodriguez's boxing looked so crisp, and every time he dropped Roque, I thought the fight was going to be over, and eventually he was just putting it on him, hit him with a slick combo, and he slumped Roque flat face first on the mat. Emmanuel gets his 5th career knockout by finish and gets a 100% finish rate as well. 6 wins, 6 finishes. Cannot wait to see this kid in the UFC. We've had some fun flyweights be added this season. I'm excited to see this kid in the UFC. I would throw him in there with any number of people. We're going to bring up a matchup between Clayton Carpenter coming up here and a guy named, I want to say, I think it's Rafael Filo You also have a matchup between Stuart Nicole and Lucas Rocha. There's a couple flyweights we're going to be mentioning, and if any of those guys lose, I would easily like to see Emmanuel Rodriguez take them on, or whoever loses between the two flyweight matchups we're going to discuss on today's UFC card. So, Manuel, welcome to the UFC. You are a bright young man, and as for Roque, you're 25. You could go out there and go 9-0 in the next 4 years and come back and, have another run in the UFC. But we'll have to see. As for now, Manuel Rodriguez, another one of DC's boys, Daniel Cormier coaching him, getting it done. Very happy for him. Welcome to the UFC. Then we ended the card with 2 decisions, and for one of the rare times, these were 2 very entertaining decisions. Now, obviously, the co-main event was much better, but the main event was equally as good. So we'll start with the bantamweight co-main event as Adrian Luna Martinetti defeats Mark Vologden, and this fight was utterly insane. I have never seen a fight like this before, and I've watched a lot of UFC. I have seen my fair share of UFC fights, and this one was utterly insane. Adrian Luna Martinetti, Mark Vologden, 165 significant strikes to 117. These two were just slugging it out from the get-go. When I talk about fighting like this is your last opportunity to get into the UFC, this is what I mean. This is what we look for when we want guys coming into the UFC. And I mean, starting off round 1, 43 significant strikes to 39. Round 2, 91 significant strikes to 55. Round 2 may be one of my favorite rounds of MMA I've ever witnessed in my 5+ years of watching MMA, like straight up every single weekend. Round 3, Adrian really did lean more on the takedowns, but still, every time Mark got up, he was getting clipped in the face, and this guy has an iron chin. I cannot wait to see him in the UFC. I am just buzzing about this. And I mean, Dana White said this could have been a draw. Dana White said it could have gone either way. And he signed both these guys. These are the 2 that he signed right after the fight ended. He sent them both to the hospital. They didn't even stick around. This was incredible. And yeah, Adrian Luna Martinetti had been coming in 16-1, so he improves to 17-1, warranted as ever. And as for Mark Vologden, falls to 12-4, but dude, after a fight like this, he's going to have so much hype coming in. He really is. And round 1 could have gone either way. Round 2, Adrian legit looked like he had Mark out. At times that Mark would fire back like a big shot, and Adrian would just be wobbling there. I mean, you thought he was going to go down. This was insane. And another good point. One point I wanted to point out is that Mark Vologden had a nasty cut over his eye. Like, it was really bad, and they could have stopped it after round 2, and the fight would have been one of the greatest of all times. But the amazing doctor we had in there, whoever that doctor was, chose to let it go on, and it was one of the best decisions I've seen, because round 3 equally delivered, and I'm just still not over this fight. This fight was crazy. It was insane, and I just can't wait to watch these guys in the UFC. I want to see them run it back in the UFC. Can we have these 2 rematch? We've done that before with Sergey Sade and Ramon Tavares. I remember doing that from like 2 seasons ago. I know that we've done it before, Dana White, so make it happen. But Adrian Luna Martinetti picks up the unanimous decision win. He improves to 17-1. He gets the official win. At the end of the day, us as fans won, and at the end of the day, both these fighters won. They both get $25K each, and UFC contracts. Good for them. With that, we got into our lightweight main event as Magomed Zainikov took on Lucas Caldas, and Magomed Zainikov went out and set the record on DWCS Contender Series for most significant strikes landing 235 significant strikes, including 101 in round number 3. Total strikes, 247. He threw in total 401. Insane. He even landed 2 takedowns for no reason. Landed one in round 1 for no reason and one in round 2. But I will say from this, Lucas Caldas is clearly a dog. Never got dropped. He actually dropped Magomed in round 1, and then Magomed came back and still won the round. But I will say Lucas continuously went forward, but at the same time, like, this guy had so many penalties, nut shots, eye pokes, he had a legal knee, literally, when Magomed was on the ground, but, the ref let it slide to an extent, and he lost the point. lost a freaking point. I think it was in round number 3, clearly in a fight he was losing. And I will just say that's what really hurt him. I will say Magomed basically treated him like a punching bag. And Magomed Zainikov has such crisp, clean, technical striking. It was beautiful to watch. And the fact he landed almost half of his significant strikes in round 3 was crazy. Another crazy thing, 121 of his strikes to the body, 121 to the head, 63 to the body, 51 leg strikes. 51 leg strikes. Another crazy stat, he went 11 of 11 on clinch significant strikes. That in itself is wild. And called us, he threw 172 significant strikes, only landed 72. Like, this guy was just having no success. He really wasn't. So he'll fall to 6-2. I still see potential in him. I really do, but he's a dirty fighter, and one thing that I absolutely loved is that Jason Herzog was having none of it. Like, even though he was clearly losing, he was warning him over and over, like, you stop it, and he didn't stop it. He eventually had to take a point. But Magomed improves to 8-0. This was only the third time that he's gone the distance. Like, this guy's usually knocking guys out with his clean striking, and instead he's picking up a victory, and he gets a UFC contract. He looked good too. Magomed Zainikov, lightweight division. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. There's a ton of lightweights you can match him up with to get his UFC run going. I don't know who or when, but certainly someone. But yeah, guys, DWCS Contender Series 9.9 was just ridiculous. I had so much fun watching it too. I was with Lexi, chilling at her place, and it was just so much fun. It really was. And you know what? It's crazy to think that next week's the finale. The season finale of DWCS Contender Series is next weekend. And you know what? I'm excited to see what goes down. We're going to be predicting it next week in our first ever Chicago episode. I'm pumped for that. And I'll tell you something else I'm pumped for, and that's to watch some of the Bears play. That's right, the Bears in the NFL. And if you didn't know about the NFL, is that there's actually some hidden things that go on behind the scenes with some of the elite players. And I think we were inexplicably told this through the new hit movie, Him. That is right, Jordan Peele's new movie, Him, came out. Me and my boy Ryan, we had to go see it. We're all about our conspiracy theories. And this was a weird movie. I can't even lie, this movie was weird. I looked away at some points. It had a crazy, crazy ending. So here is your spoiler review of the new movie by Jordan Peele, Him. Now, before I go into my official review of this movie, I have to talk about my movie viewing experience, because I went to AMC in Roseville, Minnesota, because it was like the only place showing this film. I usually go to Imagine Theaters, amazing theaters. I don't know if they're in the Midwest or in the whole country, but I went to this theater, and I went to an AMC, and they showed 30 freaking minutes of B-tier movie commercials. I was so taken back. I kept looking at Ryan. I'm like, bro, when is this movie going to start? And he's like, dude, I have no idea. This is getting ridiculous. So for an hour and a half movie, like, this movie isn't long whatsoever. Like, you do not need to take your whole afternoon off to go see Him, but clearly you do when the movie's freaking 2 hours with commercials. But overall, IMDb gave this a 5.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 31% out of 10. Letterboxd has it at 2.6 out of 5. So not many people are rocking with it, which after seeing it, I can understand. I'm going to give it a generous 7.2 out of 10 on my movie scale. Will it make it into my top 10 movies of the year when we reach the end of 2025? I don't know, but it certainly had its quirks. It had its things. And at the end of the day, I think one of the interesting things about this is you never really know what the climax is going to be. And matter of fact, when we get into the third act almost feels like just the finale of the movie, because we kind of start this film out and immediately you can see all the symbolism. Obviously, like, the main team is called the Saviors, and we have like an altar built to the Saviors team, and of course the team they're playing is the Atlanta Masons. The Masons, the Freemasons, and you see upside down crosses, and you see like demonic rituals taking place, and you see like the checkered black and white floor at times, and you can just see all the symbolism here that I think is really like when people think about the Illuminati and secretive groups. There's a lot of that in this film, and we open up and we have our main character, and our main character is played by Tyreek Withers, named Cameron Cade, otherwise known as Cam Cade. And might I say, him and Marlon Wayans, who plays the villain, I guess if you want to call it, of this, Isaiah White, his mentor of football, if you will, They're both great. They have great chemistry. I think they are both great actors. And for this being Tyreek Withers' first breakout role as an actor, I thought he did an excellent job. But we started off with him, watching Isaiah play football. And it's in this league, which is, they couldn't call it the NFL, so they called it some other league. I think it's like the National, Championship Football, Parade League. I have no freaking idea. But, and we watch Isaiah come back from an injury and win the Super Bowl. This is all a very brief intro. And we have Cam's father going like, that's going to be you one day. That is what a real man looks like. And you're saying, I'm him, say I'm him, I'm him. And then we see Cam just through this quick montage, like the opening credits. He basically chooses to go into football and he becomes like this best number one pick. I don't even know if he went to college or something. I think he went to college, but everything's going right for him. And he eventually finds out that, the Saviors team is interested in him. But then as he's just practicing at either his high school or college field, he is attacked by some weird looking individual in a suit. And then we see that he, suffered a head injury. He has some brain damage and his family isn't being very helpful. But then his agent is able to get him to go to Isaiah White's private compound, I think in New Mexico or Arizona. It's in the middle of the desert, to train with him for a week to see if he is ready to take over the Saviors promotion. And this is literally like this Isaiah White character who Marlon Wayans plays is like Tom Brady. Like in the film, he has 8 rings. He is freaking, he's him. He's him. He is the GOAT. He is the greatest football player of all time in this league. He's basically the Tom Brady, the Michael Jordan, the Wayne Gretzky of this movie. And right when he arrives, you can just tell this is going to be weird. This is just a weird movie. And one thing that Jordan Peele does here, which I don't necessarily know if I like or dislike, is you never know what you're watching, if it's real or not real, if it's in Cam's head, if what's actually happening is, going on. But, we kind of start things out, and obviously, like, it's a weird dynamic with Marlon Wayans. He has a very weird, house compound. His wife is super weird. Like, everything is just weird. And, he's kind of training normally. He's really pushing him to his max. And then we start to see things get kind of weird when he goes to like bed, and I feel like people are watching him, and then he's training and he's having to land these passes, and if he doesn't land it, this random guy they brought in gets belted in the face with a football and starts bleeding. Like it was very odd. Like I did not know what to make of it. And then he starts going out into the desert, and then they're like shooting guns, and then he's being tempted by his Marlon Wayans' wife in the film, and then her assistant or whatever. It is super, super weird. And throughout all of this, you're seeing some like weird imagery. Like I was really on the lookout for that the entire film. And then we go to this party, and this party is basically with all the owners, with the agents, and it's sort of like this, I don't even know, what is it, like this, how they indoctrinate someone into their club, if you will. And one of our protagonists of the film is this trainer from Australia. I don't know if he's actually listed here as one of the main guys in the film. Jim Jeffries, he plays Marco. Or no, it's Tim Heldicker. I think Tim Heldicker plays Tom. I don't know, one of the two guys. One of them is his agent, and one of them is his freaking the guy, the trainer that helps him. Marlon Wayans' trainer, Isaiah White's trainer, and he basically shows him that, like, dude, you gotta be careful. Like, everything you see here isn't what you see. And right when he's going to this party, Tom, or whatever the freaking trainer's name is, I can't remember, tells him to run, get out of there. And then he goes to this party, basically goes to owners. He's like, I want in with this. You can see like a lot. It's like all in red, like the entire party is. Everyone's dressed in red. Very symbolic, I might say. And then we go to this like weird scene. And this is where I don't know what's reality from what's not. And it's showing like his wife, Marlon Wayans' wife, killing the trainer or whatever, cutting his head off or something. And then you're seeing like Cam Cade like wake up, and he wakes up in like this like ice bath type of thing, almost looking like he's on an altar. And we find out that he's being injected with Isaiah White's blood, and he's been being injected with his blood the entire film, and that has been kind of what's been giving him like this extra boost or something. Well, we then have Cam have this big realization when he like takes this like big like boost of something. I don't know what it is. It was called Run, just like the trainer was telling him to do, and he takes this boost of something. I don't know what he injects himself with, maybe just some adrenaline or something, and he goes and he finds out, and it's the big reveal, that every great football player has the same blood, and basically you inject it into yourself, and that is basically like the big reveal. And in this weird moment, throughout the entire film, Isaiah White, or Marlon Wayans' character, as I've been saying, is always saying, I have to go and watch film. And he eventually goes into this room, Cam does, Tyreek Withers, our hero, and he sees our antagonist, if you will, Isaiah White, looking up and almost just like, picture it like an eye, a big black like circular in the thing, and like when you look at something through an eye, and it's fans like cheering for him, and all around the walls in this circular room are old jerseys of like all the other GOATs, if you will, and that's where Marlon Wayans reveals, or Isaiah White reveals, that there's blood that you must inject to yourself, and you must become him, almost like him as a monster, almost like you're like passing on some demon or something, and it's super weird. And he basically says you have to prove that you are the better one, you have to prove you're him. And these two just start freaking fighting each other to death. And I'm just like, what is going on? How have we reached this point? Well, obviously, spoiler alert, Cam overpowers Isaiah White. Marlon Wayans passes away after getting his Bane bashed in this very like comeback moment, if you will, by Cam. And Cam walks out covered in football pads and blood. And it's this very weird ritual. Basically, he walks into a ritual in a football field, a life-size football field, which is just on his property, might I add you, Isaiah White's. And he walks out and he sees his wife standing in front of like almost like this like fake Bible, fake book. You see all the owners dressed in these weird like animal masks, like suits and stuff. You have all these cheerleaders wearing like masks. They're almost like faceless cheerleaders. And he walks out there, and he walks into a checkered floor, mind you, with like a pentagram in the middle. And they're like, Cam, sign yourself over, join us, and you'll become the next Tim, you'll become the next GOAT. And he goes, nah, I ain't gonna do that. You killed my boy. And that's where you find out from the owner that his father actually basically made a deal with the devil, made a deal with the owners, basically, that he would sacrifice himself so his son could become great, which, by the way, just kind of comes out of nowhere. There's no teasing of that or anything, so I do feel like this final part is rushed. And then, similar to almost like was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino film, the Cam just goes crazy and kills everyone. It is shocking. I was not expecting it. It was gory. It was bloody. It was so satisfying too, might I add. Him just hacking everyone to bits with like this axe, and he's using all these other tools. He eventually ends up with a sword. It's just killing people with a sword. It is so funny. And then you see his agent, who had basically been doing deals behind his back or whatever, demonic type stuff, is dragged by an imaginary force to the middle of the pentagram and explodes in this thing of blood as Cam walks away, basically, saying like, I'm him, I'm going to do this my way. And the movie just kind of ends, as I should say, and it ends to, might I say, after watching just like the most like gory, just like non-hype thing, just ever more like a shocking thing, we come in with this, I can't remember the rapper's name, like Denzel Curry song Him, which is just going so hard, like, cause I'm H-I-M, cause I'm H-I-M, yeah, cause I'm H-I-M, and I'm just like, this just does not match the vibe whatsoever that just happened right now. So movie ends, and I guess Cam is neither a good guy, maybe he sided with the devil, but he also like refused the devil's deal. I have no idea, but him was a mind trip, if you will. If any of you like drugs, watch it while you're high. If any of you conspiracy theorists like myself like to watch it, you can analyze it more in depth at home. But I will certainly say it was enjoyable on the big screen, but it got to a point where I'm like, we're 45 minutes in, don't know where we're going. We're an hour in, we're an hour and 10 minutes in. What's the climax going to be? And I almost feel like if we divide this movie that's 90 minutes into sections, the final 15 to less minutes is the climax of the film, the third act. So certainly a bit rushed at the end. I don't know if like they ran behind on production time or whatever, but from what the previews made this to be and what the actual product was just a bit different. They also filmed fake scenes for the trailer, which I noticed because I didn't see certain scenes like with him holding out the footballs like it was a cross. I also saw multiple references to him having devil horns and crosses in the film, so I was always looking out for that. But him gets a 7.2 out of 10 for me. It's certainly a movie, certainly for some people, but it might not be for everyone. So we'll just leave that there. Go watch it if you have the time. But it's also weird because it's not in every theater. I don't know what to make of that. But before we get into our other football talk of the episode, we have our WWE Crown Jewel Predictions. Guys, we're back. Another WWE PLE. Do all my WWE fans, are we happy? We finally get to talk about another PLE. I've been waiting. I'm waiting for this one, I'm super excited for it. Am I? Not really. It feels more like a filler, but Crown Jewel Perth goes down this Saturday, October 11th, going down at 7 in the morning. Chicago time, Minnesota time, Central time, 8 o'clock for everyone on the East Coast. I mean, just wow. Getting it out early in the morning, going out at the RAC Arena in Perth, and I've been noticing a trend. Oh, we have a PLE in Paris. Oh, we just had a UFC event there. Oh, we have a WWE PLE in Perth. Oh, we just had a UFC event there. I wonder if they're going to Canada at all, or Rio, because we're having events there coming up. But Crown Jewel currently has 5 matchups that have been made official. I don't know the official bout order, but I did hear a rumor that the main event is a very interesting one between Roman Reigns and Braun Reed in an Australian street fight. So I'm just going to go through how the bouts are currently listed on Wikipedia. That's just how I'm going to go through them, and we're going to talk about who we think is going to win each and every matchup and what will, happen in terms of storyline. So, without further ado, let's kick it off with the first matchup. That is between Cody Rhodes, the SmackDown's undisputed WWE champion, and Seth Rollins, the Raw's World Heavyweight champion, in a singles match for the WWE Crown Jewel Championship. And the Crown Jewel Championship literally just means, you're the best champion. You're the best wrestler in the WWE. I legit have no idea, dude. I really have no idea. I'm pretty sure that, they're either fighting for a fake belt or a fake ring. I don't know, but this has been a very interesting storyline. Basically talking about how Seth Rollins has never been able to beat Cody Rhodes, and how can Seth Rollins be the leader of his own group division? How can Paul Heyman be with Seth Rollins if he can't beat Cody Rhodes? And this is basically Seth Rollins being like, I'm the best person in the WWE, and Cody Rhodes is like, but you can't beat me. And I think that has been a very good storyline here, and I feel like this should be the main event. If this isn't the main event, it doesn't really make sense. There's 3 matchups out here which could potentially be main event worthy. I would personally love for it to be John Cena, AJ Styles, but this matchup literally has the 2 biggest stars. If you actually think about it, if we look at it from a UFC point of view, technically the 2 biggest stars are your 2 champions, and these are the 2 biggest champions in the company. So as far as this goes, I think Seth Rollins should win. I think he needs to win, and at the end of the day, he will win. He has to win. If they bury Seth Rollins here, he'll lose all credibility as a champion. He'll just be a champion that escapes with victories, thanks to his, little cronies helping him. But Cody Rhodes, I would like to see maybe Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton costing him to an extent. I would really like to see it being Randy Orton. That would be really good, but if it isn't, it would maybe be good just to have Seth Rollins win clean here. There could be some minor shenanigans, but nothing too much. Cody Rhodes did win the belt last year, and if they have him win again, it's just going to be repetitious, and Cody Rhodes is already getting to a point where he wins far too much for the fans' liking, especially in boring matchups like the one at WrestlePalooza. So having Cody Rhodes just get rolled up here by Seth Rollins, or maybe getting distracted, or even Seth Rollins slides the belt in, Cody Rhodes rips it out, the ref goes to put it away, Seth Rollins hits a curb stomp or something behind his back. That could be what you do, but this is currently listed as the first matchup, but I do think it should be the main event. Next up, singles match for the WWE Women's Crown Jewel Championship, as our Raw Women's World Champion Steffi Vaquer will be taking on our SmackDown WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. And Steffi Vaquer recently won this belt September 20th at WrestlePalooza, and now she's already in just a exhibition matchup against Tiffany Stratton. And this is good for Tiffany. I will say not the best for Vaquer, but still doesn't hurt her too much, because Tiffany Stratton has been in a Nia Jax and Jade Cargill vortex for so long, especially the Nia Jax one. She has been stuck facing Nia Jax since she began her run in the WWE back in 2025 January. I mean, it has been ridiculous. And I should say as champion. She's been with the WWE. She's been called up from NXT for a while now. But Vaquer recently called up this year, actually joined NXT this year, speed ran it all, and is already your WWE Raw Women's Champion, which is amazing. I think she needs to win here. I really do. I think you need to have Vaquer and Seth Rollins walk away victorious here. That is what you need to do, because they always have the men and women's pose with each other, and I think those two posing with each other would look best. Vaquer just won. Having her lose doesn't look the best, and as for Stratton, she can lose, because I think she should be dropping her belt soon. She just has no business holding the belt right now, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of feel like it's stuck with her, I feel like she's just been having mediocre matches, and it's not even her fault. I think these two are going to deliver an amazing matchup. I think Tiffy Stratton has been the victim of bad booking, and it's evident because SmackDown puts on very much less better content than Raw does. They are significantly worse than Monday Night Raw, and Monday Night Raw is currently on fire. Stephanie Vaquera is on there, and it would be kind of like symbolic to have both the Raw champions walk away victorious, just to kind of, I don't know, build this animosity where maybe we build towards a Survivor Series in 2026 where you have Raw versus SmackDown again, because I'm kind of getting sick of War Games. I hope this is the last year of War Games. I think that they've kind of dragged it out far too much, so we're getting a little off topic there, but I think Stephanie Vaquera should beat Tiffy Stratton, and that she will beat Tiffany Stratton in this matchup. Next up, literally the best exhibition match you could make, John Cena, AJ Styles. There really isn't a feud here. It really isn't. This was John Cena tweeting, "Hey, Triple H, can you make me versus AJ Styles?" AJ Styles going, "I'm down." WWE going, "Okay, it's AJ Styles versus John Cena." We've had 2 promos from AJ Styles on 2 separate episodes of Raw, and now these two are just going to fight. And obviously the John Cena retirement tour has been booked terribly. Is it his fault? No. Honestly, it's WWE's fault for booking it so gosh dang awfully. But the one thing John Cena hasn't had is bad matches on his retirement tour. He's had one, and that was the Cody Rhodes. Oddly enough, his one match that was bad was really the biggest matchup of the year. It was supposed to be him versus Cody Rhodes in the main event for the 17th World Championship. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, John Cena, AJ Styles, it's going to be fantastic. I hope it's just all the hits. I hope they give him 30 minutes. I hope it's just all the crowd pleasers. They do callbacks to other wrestlers they both have, feuded with and fought with. I think that's what you need to do. So John Cena over AJ Styles is what I think everyone expects this to be. AJ Styles hasn't been winning in general. They've been burying him. If they have him go out and beat a John Cena, it would just break all of our hearts. So let John Cena get the better of AJ Styles. I think I saw something that they're tied in their matchups or something. I don't know if that was accurate or whatever on Twitter, but John Cena being AJ Styles should be the move. You could have this main event, for goodness sakes. This can be anywhere on the card. Open it, middle of the pack, closing the show, and it will be exactly where it needs to be. I think middle of the show would be good if we really want to maybe open the card with the women's, actually this probably will open the card. I think John Cena's in either a closer or an opener, especially, I don't know, you got to be careful though, because of the Brock Lesnar match that killed the entire momentum of the show. So maybe middle of the pack will work for John Cena versus AJ Styles, but I'm just curious to see what he does from here, because we only have 5 more John Cena appearances, and after this matchup we only have 4, 2 on Raw, 1 on Survivor Series, and 1 for his final matchup. I mean, it is crazy. I absolutely love you, John Cena, and it's been so sad to watch you retire, but it's been a good time nonetheless, and him versus AJ Styles should deliver tenfold. Next up, easily the best booked, the best built matchup on here, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. And the shame about this is casuals won't know much about this, and even for me, I'm not necessarily a hardcore WWE fan. I don't watch Raw and SmackDown religiously every single week. I watch basically the highlights on Twitter, basically on Instagram, and a wrestling YouTuber I follow, Santi Zap. Other than that, I just know about John Cena and AJ Styles. I just know about Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I just know about Roman Reigns. But, as far as this matchup goes, I do know that they have been booking this feud amazingly, with Io Sky basically breaking away from her friends, Asuka and Kairi Sane. What you've also been seeing is Rhea Ripley and Io Sky basically being rivals throughout the last 2 to 3 years, especially in 2025, and now them teaming together as friends to take on the Kabuki Warriors. And Asuka, Kairi Sane, we've also been seeing Kairi Sane's character develop here as she's been breaking away from Asuka, who's been treating her very unfairly. There's always this thing WWE does that you would think they do, where you have the hometown person win. In Rhea Ripley, since this is in Australia, and she is from Australia, but I would really like to see the Kabuki Warriors here. And as I go through the card, I'm having Seth Rollins win, bad guy, Stephanie Vaquera win, good guy, John Cena win, good guy. I think we need to give the heels some momentum on here, especially if this is an exhibition card, if you will. So I'm going to say the Kabuki Warriors win here, thanks to basically Asuka forcing Kairi Sane to do like a finishing move on Io Sky. Whatever their finishing moves are, I don't even know, but I think that's what you need to do. Maybe just have Rhea Ripley end this matchup looking on top, maybe saving the day, but having the Kabuki Warriors win, especially having Kairi Sane deal with this inner issue with having to listen to Asuka still and attack her former friend Io Sky, I think would really further the storyline much more. And I know this is building towards these four being involved in the War Games matchup for the women in Survivor Series coming up here in over 2 months, but I don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to go with the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. Should be somewhat interesting. I'll be curious to see what they do. Now with that, we'll get into the Australian Street Fight, the rumored main event of the show, Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. Should it be the main event? I mean, to be honest, does it matter what the main event is on this show? You can honestly book any of these matches wherever they are, and I don't think it matters, because at the end of the day, Crown Jewel is a giant glorified house show. That is what it is. Now, you might see some storyline worthy stuff on this card, but other than that, it's just going to be a lot of fan service and a lot of money grabs from the Australian crowd. So Roman Reigns, Bronson Reed going at it in an Australian street fight. I thought this would have been Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns, but I guess they're saving that for a bigger matchup, dare I say WrestleMania, SummerSlam. So for now, they're just running back Bronson Reed and Roman Reigns. We just saw this last month, if you will, a month ago in Paris, when we had Clash at the Paris. These two opened the card to a great matchup and then had a insanely long segment post matchup. Like, these two, from their entrances to the post fight shenanigans, 50 minutes to open the show. So if this closes the show, one can only imagine how late it will run. But I gotta go with Bronson Reed here. I mean, at the end of the day, Bronson Reed is from Australia. Bronson Reed cannot afford to lose twice. And Roman Reigns, let's not act like Roman Reigns needs to be protected. Let's not act like Roman Reigns can't lose and we will still not think he is the greatest tribal chief, that he is dominant. Like, I don't know what WWE is scared to do, pulling the trigger on having Bronson Reed beat Roman Reigns. What I definitely think you're going to see here is you're going to have CM Punk get involved, LA Knight, Jimmy Uso, Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins even. I think there's going to be a lot of shenanigans in this match. And what you're also going to see is a lot of fun tools being used, since it's an Australian street fight. Maybe we're going to see a boomerang being used, or maybe one of the like a rugby ball or something. I don't know, but I just hope this match is fun. I hope it delivers, and if Roman Reigns wins, I can clearly see that WWE does not care for Bronson Reed any whatsoever. But yeah, after this, we wait Survivor Series, which is the number 4 biggest PLE of the year. It kind of goes WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble. SummerSlam and Royal Rumble are kind of tied, and then you have Survivor Series in at number 4, which Money in the Bank is kind of creeping up on Survivor Series. So that goes down November 29th, so you're going to have a big gap between this PLE and the next. So whatever happens here, especially for someone like myself who only comes on the podcast and talks about PLEs, we're going to definitely need something to look forward to in the coming days. But definitely looking forward to John Cena and AJ Styles the most. That is probably a matchup I will be tuning into nonetheless, unless I'm busy for some reason, which I may be, because I'll be in a new town, a new city, all by my lonesome. But with that, we will be done with our WWE talk for the episode. But I'll tell you what I'm not done with, and that is I'm not done with my NFL talk. I'm not done, because we have our NFL Week 6 quick picks. A lot of fun matchups coming at you this week, guys. My Minnesota Vikings are on a bye, and thankfully we won. Goodness me, we somehow beat the Browns. Oh my gosh, we had to do it in, where were we at? London, wherever we were at. Got it done, and especially for fantasy terms, I need my fantasy teams to lock in. You know, I'm 4-1 in 2 leagues. I'm 2-3 in 2 leagues, and I think I'm 3-2. In 2 leagues, which, you know, thankfully I've won at least 2 games in every single league, but now is the time entering week 6, we really got to lock in terms of the NFL. This is where you really find out which teams are going to be doing good for the year and which ones are going to start to trend downwards. I know that always happens, maybe more so in the year. I mean, I've seen the Falcons start out 6-0, lose their last 10 games. I've seen the Steelers go 11-0, lose their last few games. So maybe that's not true in all extents, but as far as this week 6 goes, certainly some big matchups will be taking place. And we will open up with the Eagles and the Giants on Thursday Night Football. And straight out, I can tell you is that I am picking the Eagles every single week this year. Like, this has just been super consistent for me. I know the Broncos upset them, but knowing how good the Eagles are, especially the fact that I have Devontae Smith. I'm a Devontae Smith fan, been a Devontae Smith fan since college. I just know that the Eagles can easily get past the Giants. And especially after watching the Giants struggle against the Saints, I think they may be regretting having Jackson Dart take over for, Russell Wilson. Now, mind you, Giants have only ever lost at home, or no, only ever lost on the road, so their only win of the season is at home, but they are plus 320. They are underdogs, and the Eagles coming in minus 425. They may not have Saquon, which if they don't have Saquon, it just means the aerial attack is going to be much more dominant. After watching what Rashid Shaheed did to the secondaries of the Giants, I'm fairly confident in my prediction. Give me the Eagles over the Giants, and I'm rooting for Saquon Barkley, I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts, and I'm rooting for my boy Devontae Smith to tear it up. Then we go into Sunday, and Sunday is an 8:30 game between the Broncos and the Jets. And I am sorry, guys, I'm fairly unfamiliar where this game is taking place. Oh, we're in London. Of course, we're back in London, guys. Oh, goodness me. We can't have nothing more than games week after week in London. But it is the Broncos and the Jets, and the Jets are somehow 0-5. The Jets are somehow the worst team in the league. And did you know that they have 14 more points scored than the Chargers, who are the number one team in the AFC West? Isn't that funny how NFL works? But yeah, Jets have been unable to win so far this year, and I will say they've just been the Bears of bad luck. They really have, opened the season against the Steelers, lose the game 34-32. Then they take on the Bills, lose 30-10. Then they take on the Buccaneers, lose on a game-winning field goal. Then they take on the Dolphins, fail to make a comeback. Then they take on the Cowboys and are just dismantled 37-22. And they start to form a comeback with only a quarter left, down 30 points. Not going to happen. So Jets, not really like any way I can pick them. I really can't, especially after watching this Broncos team upset the Eagles at home. Yeah, I'm certainly very confident in the Broncos. Now, to be fair, the Broncos have lost 2 games this year. Both of them have came on the road, but they are on a 2-game winning streak. Doesn't look like they're stopping now. I have Cortland Sutton for the Broncos. I actually have the Broncos kicker in a league. I'm in a weird league with some of my buddies, and we have punters in this league, and I have the freaking Broncos punter. Did you know that? What's his name? Crenshaw or something? I think that's his last name, actually. For the Jets, I do have Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, but I might not even start them all because I got the Broncos at minus 400, beating the plus 300 Jets, who will fall to 0-6, and I think it'll just be a sad day to be a Jets fan. With that, we get into our noon games on Sunday, Cardinals and Colts, and had the Cardinals beaten the Titans, I would have easily picked the Cardinals, but clearly the Cardinals are awful. I knew they were frauds from the get-go when they started 2-0. I'm like, oh, this is one of the worst 2-0 teams. But blowing an 18-point lead over the Titans, oh my gosh, yeah. Cardinals are absolutely abysmal. Kyler Murray might be out too, but I mean, this team is rough. They're on a 3-game losing streak where they've lost on the final play of the game to a game-winning kick in every single matchup. They did it to the 49ers. It happened to them against the Seahawks, and it happened to them against the worst team in the league, the Titans. I mean, oh my goodness. What's going on, Cardinals? What is going on? Meanwhile, the Colts have started off their season 4-1. I mean, they are doing fantastic to start this year. Daniel Jones looks amazing. You got Anthony Richardson as your backup. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren. What a great receiver crew you have. And then you have the best running back currently in the league, Jonathan Taylor, tearing it up like he was in his prime 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Give me the Colts over the Cardinals all day. Next up, Chargers and Dolphins. And one of the things I'm noticing this week is we have a lot of matchups where it's pretty obvious one team is significantly better than the other. And there's nothing different here, I should say. Chargers 3-2 are easily significantly better than the Dolphins, but the Chargers have somehow dropped their last 2 games to the Commanders and the Giants. And I have no idea where the switch came. I have no idea how it has happened, but it has, and they've lost, and now they're on the road here against the Dolphins. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anything you can do to get me to pick the Dolphins to win this. I really don't, especially after last week, just the pitiful performance against the Panthers. They had that Panthers game in the bag, and their defense fell apart. And if you're going to be falling apart to the frickin' Bryce Young Panthers, and Bryce Young absolutely sucks, we hate Bryce Young on the podcast here, then you're not going to be able to handle Justin Herbert. So give me the Chargers over the Dolphins. As far as players go, I got A-Chain in a league, so I'll be rooting for him. And for the Chargers, I got Quentin Johnson. So Quentin Johnson, you tear it up, my boy. I'm going to need a 5-touchdown game from you because I need to move to 3-3 in my big 16-man fantasy football league. Next up, AFC North battle going down Browns and Steelers. And, this may look easy at first. Steelers 3-1 coming in off a bye. Number one team in the AFC North. Browns 1-4, 2-game losing streak. But we have some changes at hand here. Bye-bye Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders are now the two main men in the QB locker room for the Browns. And as for the Steelers, they always play the Browns close. It's just a known thing. You just always know that the Browns are going to play the Steelers super close. And especially after playing the Vikings close, after playing the Packers close, this team can play teams super close. We know this. Now, am I going to be picking the Browns? Absolutely not. No. 91% of people have picked the Steelers. I'm going to join them on the ESPN app. They're minus 275 favorites, and I think I'm going to start their defense this week because the Browns offense just hasn't been looking good. It really hasn't. I mean, Hannon Jr. as the rookie tight end, he's been doing some decent stuff. Quishon Judkins at running back, he's been looking good, but the wide receiver core looked really lost against the Vikings, and if anything, the only good thing on this team is their defense, and even the Browns' defense can't support the average offense that they carry. So, gonna go with the Steelers, plus I think Aaron Rodgers knows a thing or two about beating the Browns, if you ask me. Next up on our noon slate, the Cowboys visit the Panthers, and I know I shouldn't. I really know I shouldn't do this, but something's telling me the Panthers are going to win this. A little birdie is in my ear going, you should pick the Panthers, Zach. And to be fair, Panthers are undefeated at home. They're 2-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. Now, those wins are against the Dolphins and the Falcons. Two not good teams, and their losses are to the Jags, Cardinals, and Patriots. So they've been all over the place. But meanwhile, for the Cowboys, talk about a team that's all over the place. I mean, the Cowboys, I have no idea what to expect with this Cowboys team. 1 week they'll go to a draw against the Packers. Another week they'll get blown out by the Bears. And next week they'll blow out the Jets like they did last week. Now, if they were to play every game last week like they did, mind you, they were on the road in New York, they should have no problem beating the Panthers. But one thing I want to monitor real quick is that the Panthers are plus 150. Cowboys are only minus 175. If the Panthers reach the plus 200 range, I would very heavily consider picking the Panthers. But I have to look at if, the Cowboys are going to be that bad on the road. And to be honest, guys, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm getting very tempted to pick the Panthers here. And you know what? 16% of people on the ESPN app are kind of with me. Something about this Panthers team. Something about Rico Dowdle really gets me going. I think I got to go with the Panthers here. I think I do. I don't actually have any Cowboys players. Actually, I may have Dak Prescott, but other than that, no one really else. So we're going to go with the Panthers to beat the Cowboys. We got to pick some upsets here and there. Have I been picking a lot of home teams? No, I've been pretty split up as of late. So that's our big first underdog prediction of the week, and that will move us along to our next noon game, the 7th game of the week, as the Seahawks take on the Jags. And this is a big 50-50 game here because the Jags have surprised everyone. They recently upset the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That was crazy. They're 4-1 on a 3-game winning streak. They're also 3-0 at home. They've been killing it. They really have. Meanwhile, the Seahawks team has been all over the place. They're 3-2 despite having a plus 41 point differential. They have wins over the Saints, wins over the Steelers, and wins over the Cardinals. Their losses are to the Bucs and 49ers by single-digit points. That Bucs game was utterly insane. Now, Seahawks are plus 100. I really like that. But one thing I'm going to say is I think the Jaguars have home field luck on their side. And I'm going to go as far to say as the Jaguars are going to finish at 9-8 and win all their games at home and lose all their games on the road. I'm going to go with the Jaguars to beat the Seahawks here in shocking upset fashion. That's right. I know the Jags are favorites here, but there's no way they're actually the favorites. I mean, this Seahawks team has Sam Darnold, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. You got JSN, Cooper Kupp. Meanwhile, the Jags, well, they got a B-plus type of version of Brian Thomas Jr. this season. You got Trevor Lawrence, who is 50-50 in how he plays. Actually, scratch that, boys. I think I have to start Trevor Lawrence this week if my boy Lamar Jackson is hurt. So we're going to go with the Jags over the Seahawks because I just realized I have to cheer for Trevor Lawrence. Oh, my QB luck is so bad in my big 16-man league. With that, speaking of the devil, guys, another noon game here. Rams visiting the Ravens, and oh my gosh, the Ravens are so bad. The Ravens are actually so bad. They're 1-4. 1-4, despite having scored 141 points for on the year. That is the third best in the AFC. I mean, wow. Just wow is all I have to say. Plus, they actually have 44 more points than the Steelers, who have 2 more games ahead of them in their same division. For the Rams, Puka Nacua has been killing it. Kyron Williams has been killing it. Matt Stafford has been utterly killing it. And without Lamar Jackson in, there's no good way I can pick the Ravens. So Rams over the Ravens. But if Lamar Jackson does make himself a little miraculous turnaround, I'm going to come back and switch that pick. So if the Ravens are playing with Lamar, yeah, best bet I'm riding with the Ravens every single week. But if it's no Lamar, then yeah, we're picking the Rams every which way. Especially the fact that Derrick Henry is looking really washed this season, which some people may be happy for, but I'm actually kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see Derrick Henry finally wear and tearing down. I remember his prime days in Tennessee. That boy was a killer. With that, we get into our final noon game, the Patriots visiting the Saints. And this one's a little tricky for me because, I really liked the Saints last week. I thought the Saints looked really good beating the Giants, and Rashid Shaheed did a wonderful job. But another thing is that the Saints are still the frickin' Saints, and the Patriots are 3-2 and just knocked off the Buffalo Bills. Before that, they had beaten the Panthers in a blowout game, which, as we've learned last week, is not an easy thing to do. So, easy money for me here. I'm going with the Patriots at minus 185. However, I will say Saints at plus 155 is slightly tempting. But yes, I am going to go with the Patriots to win. I think what Drake May is cooking up there in New England is looking good, and he may even have the blood of Tom Brady in him, as we learned from the Him movie. You watch that boy if he starts throwing up Illuminati and Baphomet symbols. Drake May, I got my eyes on you, boy. With that, 3 o'clock games, Titans and Raiders. Raiders are the favorites, as they are the home team coming off of another lackluster performance. It's not Ashton Genty's fault. I will have no Ashton Genty slander on here. It is all Geno Smith. We need to bench Geno Smith and just hand the ball off to Ashton Genty every single time. 40-6. 40-6. The freaking Colts blow out the Raiders. Oh man, it was brutal. It was freaking brutal. Somehow Ashton Genty got almost 16 fantasy points. No idea how, but on the other hand, the Titans picked up a win on the road against the Cardinals. So what will I do here, guys? I think I may have to pick the Titans. I don't know. Do they have a stroke of momentum coming their way? Or did the Cardinals just suck? And honestly, as I look at it, the Cardinals absolutely just sucked. I gotta go with the Raiders here. Ashton Genty is my boy. Jacoby Myers I have in some leagues. And for the Titans, I have nothing riding with the Titans. I don't have Aon Amar. I don't have Calvin Ridley. I actually had Cam Ward on my bench. I dropped him because he gets no points. And yeah, there's just no real reason to pick the Titans at all this year. There may be a point where I pick them, especially if they beat the Raiders here. I'm going to be so pissed, but the Raiders are so much better than their 1-4 record. I absolutely know, and I know that they can make a run in the AFC West. I think I need Ashton Genty to get another 30 bomb this week if I want to have any chance of winning my league. So Raiders, riding with you in this week. Let's lock it in. With that, next matchup, 49ers visiting the Buccaneers, and the first thing I'm looking at is the odds here. 49ers plus 135, Bucs minus 155, lock in the 49ers. Something about this Bucs team. Some about this 49ers team. Some about both these teams is so unpredictable. 49ers, 4-1, and they shouldn't be. They don't have Brock Purdy. They don't have freaking Brandon Ayuk. They don't have George Kittle, all right? But Mac Jones has been completely shocking everyone, especially beating the Rams in overtime. That was shocking. Their only loss, the Jaguars, which, as we've looked at, is not a bad loss at all. They're also 4-1. Now, for the Buccaneers, they have been in close games every single week, which, to be fair, the 49ers have as well. But for the Bucs, it's been so evident. It really, really has. They win by 2 against the Jets, lose by 6 to the Eagles, win by 3 against the Seahawks, beat the Falcons by 3, beat the Texans by 1. This has just been a close season in every game for the Bucs. Another interesting note for the Buccaneers, which you may not know, is that they are 3-0 on the road, but are 1-1 at home. Isn't that very interesting? I find that very interesting. So I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I think since they're an underdog, that's the prediction to make. But if the Buccaneers sneak into underdog territory, I suggest you pick them. So 49ers over the Bucs, that's my prediction. And do I have anything riding here? No, I'm just more sad that Emeka Egbuka absolutely cooked me last week. So we're going to root for Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers. Next game up, 325. Actually, wrapping up our 325 slate, we have the Bengals taking on the Packers. Ooh. Bengals are plus 800 against the minus 1,600 Green Bay Packers. Oh my gosh, I know I shouldn't pick you Bengals, and yeah, I know better. I'm not picking the Bengals whatsoever. We're going with the Green Bay Packers here. Look, this Packers team's good. They really are. They went on a bye after having one of the best games of the year against the Cowboys. And as far as the Bengals are concerned, I just don't see them winning a game ever again without Joe Burrow. They somehow are 2-3, but they are on a 3-game losing streak. They've given up 156 points. And after last week to the Lions, I mean, they were getting hand-me points with Jamar Chase. They really were, but still lost by double digits. Couldn't pull it together. Packers over the Bengals, but I might tell my group chat this week for our group bet we should ride with the Bengals. Next up, Sunday Night Football, and this is a Sunday Night Football game. Right here, the Lions visiting the Chiefs. Oh, behave, yes, injected into my veins. I love it. I absolutely love it. Coming in here, Chiefs are 2-3. Chiefs have been pretty sucky, if you ask me. They've lost to the Jaguars, they've lost to the Eagles, and they've lost to the Chargers. Their wins, the Giants and the Ravens. Mind you, the Lamar-less Ravens. So, as far as I'm concerned, this should be a win for the Lions here, who are plus 115. They're the underdogs. Oh, I gotta ride with them. They're on a 4-game win streak, 2-1 on the road, best offense in the league. Give me the Lions over the Chiefs. But, Mahomes might own, actually. Mahomes might actually own this defense. However, I just like the Lions a bit more than I do the Chiefs. I'm kind of reaching a point where I don't even want to pick the Chiefs every week because I feel like I can get underdog money more on whoever they're playing. So, Lions over the Chiefs. Let's predict it. Let's run it. Why not? Then, another Monday doubleheader. Ooh, very fun. First up, Bills and Falcons. Yeah. Bills over Falcons. This ain't the Patriots. This ain't no divisional game. Josh Allen is going to do whatever he wants to the Falcons, who are 2-2. Bills all day. I do not even need to waste time trying to jam words in here. Bills over the Falcons all day. Final game of the week, Bears and Commanders. Bears are plus 190. Commanders are minus 225. Ooh, and you need a score as well. How about the score is going to be 40-6. That is right, a blowout win for the Commanders. I kid you guys not. I'm really rooting for the Commanders in this one. I'm starting Jackson Krosky Merritt in a league, starting Deebo Samuels in a league. And for the Bears, I have DJ Moore, and I think he gonna be camping on my bench this week. The boy does nothing. They pass to Rome Odunze every single time. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. They don't even look DJ Moore's way. I mean, come on, what are you doing? And as far as the Bears' offensive line is concerned, I mean, Ashton Genty tore you guys up. So, I'm kind of an Ashton Genty whore this season. You could say, whoa, watch what I'm saying. But, Commanders, Jane Daniels is back. This team is completely healthy. Scary Terry might actually be on his way back as well. So, also at home, Commanders can really rally it together, but 3-2, you never know what you're going to get with this Commanders team. But they are coming in with some momentum, beating the Chargers, so we'll ride with them. So yeah, Monday night doubleheader, we'll go Bills and Commanders, going with the favorites here. But yeah, our big underdog pick of the week, I guess, is going to be the Panthers at plus 150. The Panthers are our underdog pick of the week. I really hope they get bigger in their underdog odds because I don't really like them at plus 150. Let's get that up more into the plus 200 range. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our NFL quick picks, which I always love to look at the fact that I spent 20 minutes talking on it, so it's not really that quick of a pick, but to be fair, I have to make 15 picks. There's like just over a minute per prediction. So with that, let's get into our actual predictions for today's card. UFC Rio de Janeiro coming to you live from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Charles Oliveira versus Matheus Gamrot is the main event. I am so excited for this card. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be my first card I watch in Illinois as a new Illinois resident. So without further ado, let's go in, drop our predictions, and see who we think will win in UFC Rio. Kicking off our card, we head to the men's bantamweight division as we have two fighters who legit have not won. One in over 4 years, one in over 3 years. You cannot make this up at all. Bantamweight division, Luan Lacerda takes on Salmon Oliveira. This is honestly one of the most unpredictable matchups I saw being made. I mean, I have no idea how either of these guys are still in the UFC for the starters. I generally have no idea, but Luan Lacerda coming in 12-3 professional record, Salmon 18-6, 3 inches in height for Luan, 5'7" to 5'4", 1 inch in reach for Salmon, 72-71, orthodox stance for both fighters, minus 250. Luan coming in as the favorite at plus 200. Salmon Oliveira is the underdog. Starting off, Luan Lacerda, 32 years old from Rio de Janeiro, trains out of Nova União, same gym as Jose Aldo. We're going to have another fighter from there coming up later on the card. Of his 12 victories, he has 10 wins by submission. You know how he likes to get them done. And of his 3 defeats, he's been finished twice. Actually, one of which was in his last time he fought. His last win came in 2022, and he has an 0-2 record in the UFC. Way back in 2023, this man made his debut at UFC 283, losing a decision to Cody Stamann, who would come back later in the year for Fight Night Kai Kara-France and Amir Albazi, getting TKO'd in round number 2 by Damon Blackshear. Since then, not even linked to a fight. Not even linked to any form of fight. I don't know if he's been injured. I don't know what he's been doing. But it has been over 2 years, almost 2.5 years, and we have not seen this man fight in the UFC. And, you know, that's rough. That's bad. But the next man we're going to talk about, Salmon Oliveira, I am so perplexed how this man is still in the company, as his only win came on Dana White's Contender Series in 2021. Salmon is 34 years old from Santa Catarina, Brazil, and trains out of Austria Fight Team. Of his 18 wins, he has 5 KOs and 11 subs, so he is a finisher, and of his 6 defeats, he's only ever been finished twice. Now, mind you, those are 2 knockout losses, which have came in his last 2 fights. He debuted in the UFC at UFC 270 in 2022, losing a decision to Tony Gravely. He would come back a year later in January of 2023, getting TKO'd in round 2 by Daniel Marcos. He would then come back 2 years later in March of 2025, getting knocked out by David Martinez in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Is anyone going to win watching this fight? I have no idea. Salmon Oliveira is a nice underdog. I can't even lie, but this man, Luan Lacerda, is from Rio. We're fighting out of Rio. Let's just go with Luan Lacerda, man. I don't want to give these fighters any more time. Next up, we head to the women's strawweight division as Julia Psycho Palastri takes on Karolina Kowalski. Julia is 13-5. Carolina is 16-9. 5'2" to 5'3", 1 inch in height for Carolina, and they both have a 64-inch reach and fight out of the orthodox fighting position. Julia Palastri, the biggest favorite on this card second biggest on this card at minus 440. Carolina, minus 440, biggest favorite for Julia Palastri, big underdog for Carolina at plus 340. One of, not the biggest. There's actually another women's fight with bigger odds. Julia Palastri coming in psycho, is 27 years old from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 7 of her 13 wins are by finish, 4 KOs and 3 subs. And number 5 defeats, she has never once been put away or submitted. She came into the UFC in 2024 after going 1-1 on Dana White's Contender Series. She would fight on Season 5, dropping a decision to Jasmine Jasudavicius. After leaving, she would go 3-0 in other promotions. She would come back on Season 7, earning herself a contract after getting a round 2 rear naked chokehold. Since debuting in June of 2024, she has gone 1-2 with a decision loss to Josephine Knutson in her debut, a decision win over Corey McKenna back in October 2024, and her lone fight earlier this year in Mexico City. She would lose to Lupi Godinez by unanimous decision. So, very lackluster run so far in the UFC for Julia Palastri, but she gets a big name in some regards in Karolina Kowalski. And to be fair, the last opponent that she lost to is now ranked number 6 in the UFC's women's strawweight division. But Carolina coming in here, the big underdog at plus 340, is 39 years old. Wow, 12 years older than Julia Palastri, when Julia was not even born. She was just a promise in the eyes of her parents. Carolina was already moving on to middle school. That's insane. Carolina is currently 9-9 in the UFC, which is wild to think. She came into the UFC 7-0, and since then has not amounted to much. Of her 16 wins, she has 1 KO and 3 subs, and of her 9 defeats, she's only ever been finished 3 times. Currently rides a 2-fight winning streak and had a rough 2024. Lost to Yasmin Lucindo, lost to Denise Gomez, and that sucks because previously she had gone undefeated in 2022 and 2023, winning 4 straight, getting 1 rear naked choke along the way. She actually, at one point in her career, was on a 5-fight losing streak and risked being cut before going on her winning streak. When she debuted in 2015, she went on a 3-fight winning streak before fighting for the championship. Wow, she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk when she had a record of 10-0. I didn't even know that. How about that? She actually holds wins over Rose Namajunas, and that's it. She holds a win over Rose Namajunas. That's a fun fact that you just now know. But other than that, yeah, Carolina hasn't done much. Last 2 women to beat her, Denise Gomez and Yasmin Lucindo, which, to be fair, are the number 7 and 15 women in the division, but Carolina ain't been doing much. I do like her as an underdog, but Julia fought more recently. She's from Rio. Let's go with Palastri to open up this card. I won't pick the favorites in every matchup, but certainly here we're going to ride with Psycho Palastri. Next up, here's what I'm excited for. Heavyweight division, the premier division of the UFC. Am I right? Not so much. The number 15th ranked men's heavyweight Walter, the Clean Monster Walker, takes on Mohammed the Motor Usman. Walter, 14-1. Mohammed, 12-4. 4 inches in height for Walter, 6'6" to 6'2", but 1 inch in reach goes to Mohammed, 79 inches to 78. Orthodox stance for both of our fighters. Walter Walker coming in minus 265 is the favorite over Mohammed Usman, who is plus 200. Walter, 27 years old, born in Rio de Janeiro, has now since moved to Moscow, where he trains at Gore MMA, same gym as Bogdan Guskov and Shara Magomedov, among some other fighters. Of his 14 wins, he has 10 finishes, including 6 KOs and 4 subs. Of those, 7 have came in round number 1. And Walter Walker, of course, younger brother of Johnny Walker, has become a meme as of sorts as he lost his debut in April of 2024 to Lucas Brzeziak at light heavyweight. He would immediately move to heavyweight and has since won all 3 of his wins by heel hook in round 1. It's so funny. It's like this guy just unlocked it in a gym. I mean, coming into the UFC, he was known as being a knockout artist, and now he's getting submission wins over Junior Tafa, submission wins over Donta Mays. Last time out in Nashville in July, 54-second heel hook of Kenny in Chuku. It's safe to say we know what he's going to try to do against Mohammed Usman, but nonetheless, it's always funny. Walter Walker, very well-rounded. I think his debut was just an absolute fluke, as he's looked pretty good through his first 3 fights. I mean, Junior Tafa, Donta Mays, Kenny Chuku, that's pretty much the best unranked heavyweights we have on the roster, and he gets another go at one of the best unranked heavyweights in Mohammed Usman. Of course, the younger brother of Kamaru Usman. How about that? 2 younger brothers going to battle. Mo is 9 years older at 36 years old, born in Nigeria. He now trains out of Fortis MMA in Texas. Same gym as Jeff Neal, Macy Chiasson, and some other notable UFC names. Of his 12 wins, 4 KOs and 2 subs. This man is not a finisher. I don't know who we think he is. He won the Ultimate Fighter with a nasty knockout of Zach Palga and has since gone 3-2 in the UFC. Boring decision win over Junior Tafa. Boring decision win over Jake Collier. Boring decision loss to McParkin. Boring decision loss to Thomas Pearson, which he just shouldn't have lost that fight, if I'm being honest. And then he lost round 1 to Hamdi Abdul-Hawab back in Baku, Azerbaijan. Won the final 2 rounds to sneak away with the decision victory. But this man just hasn't amounted to anything in the UFC. Look, Walter Walker all day, round 1 heel hook, lock it in. If he does it again, it would be incredible. And I think he's going to try and do it. I think he's just going to keep going until he eventually gets TKO'd or it gets stopped. But Walter Walker over Mohammed Usman, I think it's a pretty safe pick here. And it's one of the fights of the prelims that I'm definitely going to be looking forward to. Next up, we head to the men's flyweight division as Lucas Rocha takes on Stuart Nicole. Lucas Phenomeno Rocha and Stuart Kakamora Nicole. A bunch of goofy nicknames these two got. Lucas minus 105, Stuart minus 120. This is one of the most even fights on the card. Lucas 17-2. Stuart is 8-1. 5'5" to 5'3", 2 inches in height for Stuart. 65 inches to 64 inches in reach. 1 inch in reach for Stuart. Orthodox stance for both of our fighters. Rocha coming in, the minus 105 favorite, I guess they're both favorites, is 25 years old from Amazonas, Brazil. Of his 17 wins, he has 14 19 finishes, 10 KOs, and 4 subs. Both of his defeats have came by finish, one by knockout and one by submission. This dude won on Season 7 of the Contender Series, getting a round 2 knockout after losing the first round. He would make his debut in October of 2024, getting submitted by Clayton Carpenter, who, funny enough, we're actually going to mention in about 2 fights. So, Clayton Carpenter, you get mentioned twice on today's episode. But yeah, Lucas Rocha lost his UFC debut after coming in with such a stellar record, but that's what happens when you fight high-level guys coming into the UFC. He looked decent in round 1, but to be fair, it wasn't like a decent, like, oh my gosh, you're super good. It's decent, like, okay, he's not getting finished. So Lucas is back fighting in Brazil this time, and hey, only being 25 years old, he is decently young. And he takes on a man 5 years his senior, the 30-year-old from Brisbane, Australia, Stuart Kakamora Nicole. Stuart has 4 KOs and 3 subs of his 8 career victories, and he hasn't fought since August of 2024 when he was submitted by Jesus Aguilera in 2.5 minutes. He was linked to a fight against Ray Tazura at UFC 312 earlier this year in February. Unfortunately, that never took place because he got injured. So instead, he has now found himself taking on Lucas Rocha. The funny thing about Stuart Nicole's debut is he landed a takedown on Jesus Aguilera and was doing decently well until basically Jesus Aguilera finally was like, wait a second, why don't I just lock on a guillotine choke on this guy? And soon enough, Stuart was forced to tap. So both these guys have been submitted in their last fights. I don't know what to expect of either of them. I know that Lucas has double the experience of Stuart Nicole. I also know he is from Brazil, so we are going to ride with Lucas Rocha in this one, getting some of that home crowd momentum to open up the card. So far, 4 Brazilian fighters, I've picked all 4 of them to open up the card, and as I'm looking through all the matchups, I'm concerned I may be picking every single Brazilian fighter to win, which I know won't be the case, so we may have to dial that back a bit, but for this one, very 50-50. I agree with the odds makers. No one's really an underdog in this one. Rocha does have double the experience of Stuart Nicole, and he certainly showed more in his Dana White's Contender Series fight and in the one fight that he had. So, Lucas Rocha over Stuart Nicole, dare I say, getting himself a round 1 knockout. Round 1 knockout for Lucas Rocha. Next up, women's bantamweight division. We are going to attempt to break in the women's bantamweight division. The women's bantamweight division and the men's heavyweight division are so similar, and it is just so hard to get new fighters into here that are actually talented. But we're going to give it a go here as Bia Mesquita makes her debut against the Russian Ronda, Irina Alekseeva. Bia is 5-0. Irina is 5-3. 4 inches in height for Irina, 5'8" to 5'4". Both women, 67-inch reach. Orthodox stance. Very similar size-wise besides that height. Bia, biggest favorite on the card. I thought it was Julia, but no. It is Bia Mesquita at -650. Irina, the biggest underdog at +450. That's right. If you want to make some money, throw some dollars on Irina Alekseeva. And honestly, being that it's the women's bantamweight division, you might actually have a better bet going with Irina Alekseeva here. However, Bia is 34 years old, from Brazil, now actually trains out of Florida at American Top Team. A lot of good names trained there. She went 4-0 in the LFA, and all of her 5 wins she's gotten done in round 1 or 2. 2 KOs and 3 subs. She has a very stellar 29-8 grappling record with wins over former title challengers Jennifer Maia and actually former champion Miesha Tate. So Bia Mesquita going to be going for the submissions, you can guess, against Irina Alekseeva. We'll see how that does as she takes on the Russian Ronda, the 35-year-old from Russia, Irina Russian Ronda Alekseeva. And I've just said Russian Ronda so many times, I think it's just fun to say. It rolls off the tongue. Of her 5 wins, 1 KO and 2 subs. She actually came into the UFC with a 4-1 record and was like super highly touted, but only had 2 finishes. Very odd. She would win her debut in April of 2023, getting a 2-minute knee bar. She would then proceed to drop a decision to Melissa Mullins in October of 2023. And after spending a year and a half on the bench, would come back in June at Baku, Azerbaijan, and drop a boring decision to Claudia Segula. Yeah, I watched that fight. I don't think Irina Alekseeva deserves to be in the UFC. I know for a fact they're setting up Bia Mesquita to get a round 1 submission here. And if she doesn't, then I think the women's bantamweight division is ungettable into. You have to be a former world-class champion in, what's her name, Kayla Harrison, to make it in the UFC if you're not grown up in the UFC. So we're going to go with Bia Mesquita. We're going to buy into the hype. Do I think she's going to win? Man, I can't even tell you. But at plus 450, I really like Siva. Might be a decent underdog to bet on. However, if you've ever seen a fight she's in, she's not necessarily the best fighter to an extent. So Bia Mesquita, round 1 sub. I think we're going to go on a little finishing streak here after 2 decisions to open the card. Let's make it happen. Next up, more heavyweights. I love heavyweights, and we get more here as Vitor Petrino is back to take on Thomas the Train Peterson. Vitor is 12-2. Thomas is 10-3. 6'2" to 6'1". You get 1 inch in height for Vitor and 3 inches in reach. 77-74. Southpaw for the Train. Orthodox for Vitor Petrino. Vitor is minus 265 at a favorite. Thomas Peterson at plus 205 is the underdog. Petrino, another Brazilian, coming in, 28 years old, is from Minas Gerais, Brazil. Trains out of CM Systems, same gym as Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. Notable UFC name. Of his 12 wins, 9 finishes, 7 KOs, and 2 subs. Both of his defeats have came by finish. Vitor Petrino has had a pretty crazy run in the UFC, won on Season 6 of DWCS Contender Series after nearly being knocked out in Round 1 by Rodolfo Bellato. He would come back to knock him out in Round number 2. He would win a Fight of the Night debut over Anton Dragaljic before following it up with a Round 3 arm triangle finish of Marcin Prachinio. He would then knock out Modestas Bukauskas to end off 2023 in dominant fashion before kicking off 2024 with a boring decision of Tyson Pedro. He was given a ranked opponent in Anthony Smith, boasting an 11-0 record before getting guillotine choked in 2 minutes. He would wait the rest of the year until the end of 2024 before he would get highlight reel knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. It literally looked like the Kamaru Usman-Jorge Masvidal knockdown. Bar for bar, same motion, same falling, knockout motion. Yeah, it was bad. He would take the rest of the year off until July of 2025. He would come back, making his heavyweight debut. Quick work of Austin Lane is all I'm going to say. Took him down, locked in the rear naked choke, did what he had to do. So Vitor Petrino, welcome to heavyweight. We'll see how you do. You passed the Austin Lane test. We'll see if you can pass the Thomas Peterson test. Thomas, 30 years old, from Minnesota, born in Farmington, now trains out of Minnesota Top Team in Webster. He has 7 KOs and 1 sub of his 10 victories. And of his 3 defeats, he's been finished twice by KO. Fun fact, actually, besides getting KO'd by Shamil Gaziev earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, his other previous knockout loss was to Waldo Cortez Acosta. And if you're like, Zach, who's Waldo Cortez Acosta? Well, he's currently ranked at number 6 in the men's heavyweight division, which he's not that good in the first place. So, do just want to throw that out there. But yeah, Thomas coming into the UFC, won on Season 7 of DWCS Contender Series, getting a finish over Chandler Cole. Would make his debut in February last year, losing to Jamal Pogues. He would then beat Muhammad Usman halfway through the year. Of course, as I said, he lost to Shamil Gaziev, got knocked out pretty badly in round number 1, and then he would return in May of, back in, I think it was the Iowa card. No, it was the Des Moines card. Yeah, Des Moines, Iowa card. He would submit, he wouldn't even submit Donton Mays. He would land 9 takedowns for 14 minutes of control time. Holy cow, 9 of 9 on takedowns. So Thomas coming in with some momentum, but I'm hopping on the Vitor Petrino train. I really am, and I'm picking yet another Brazilian for this card, goodness me, but I do like Vitor Petrino in this contest. These two fight similar styles, and I do think Vitor Petrino hits harder than Thomas Peterson, but we'll see. This is only his 2nd heavyweight appearance, and Thomas Peterson has proven he can't string together a win streak to save his life, so Vitor Petrino over Thomas Peterson. Let's just go with a round 1 submission as well. If you ain't broke, don't fix it. Next up, flyweight division. Minus 110 for both of these guys as Rafael Pastor Filo takes on Clayton Carpenter. Filo, 16-4. Clayton is 8-1. 1 inch in height for Filo, 5'7" to 5'6", and 2 inches in reach for him, 68 inches to 66. Orthodox stance for both of these fighters. So, Rafael Filo, first up, the man is 16-4, 32 wins. He is from Rio de Janeiro and trains out of Nova União. 15 of those 16 wins are by finish, 5 KOs and 10 subs. This man's a finishing machine. At the end of the day, of his 4 defeats, he's been submitted twice. He came off of Season 6 of DWCS Contender Series, getting a round 3 knockout. He was make his debut at UFC 286, getting submitted by Mohamed Mokaev. He would follow that up with 2 straight round 1 submission wins before coming back in May of this year and dropping a decision to Alan Nascimento. But that fight sucked. I mean, that fight really sucked. And, to be fair, I thought Filo was looking good for the first part of the rounds and then just completely fell apart in rounds 2 and 3. So Filo's back. He has a lot of fights, a lot of wins, but very lackluster UFC run so far. His opponent, Clayton Carpenter. Similar scenario for Clayton. He's 29 years old from Phoenix, Arizona, United States, if you will. Trains out the MMA lab, same gym as Henry Cejudo, Jared Cannonier, a lot of the Arizona fighters. Of those 8 wins, he has 2 KOs and 4 subs, and he's currently 2-1. In the UFC. He came off of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series, beating Edgar Chairez, for debuting in February of 2023, getting a round 1 rear naked choke. He would come back in October of last year, of course, submitting Lucas Rocha before getting a big name to kick off the year in January of this year, taking on Tagir Ulanbekov. He would lose that decision, but honestly, didn't go away easily. None whatsoever. He actually won a round on a judge's scorecard. Now, to be fair, I will say he kind of started the fight better than he ended it, but did land more significant strikes in round number 2, did land a takedown on Tagir Ulanbekov, and got 3 minutes control time in total throughout the fight. So, Clayton coming in, I do think he's talented. I would hate to see that his ceiling is anything less than Tagir Ulanbekov. He's currently getting a big name coming up next, so I am going to go with Clayton Carpenter, our first non-Brazilian of the card. I think that Clayton Carpenter has the abilities. I think this is going to be a grappling affair, but Carpenter's just got to watch the neck. He really has to. If anything, if he hunts for the neck, he can get Filo out of there. I know he can. So Clayton Carpenter rocking with the American boy over Rafael Filo. And I know it's maybe a cardinal sin for me to pick against Thomas Pearson since he's from Minnesota. There's not many Minnesota UFC fighters, but I'm just being honest. I do not think he's getting it done, just in my opinion. Just want to put that out there. So moving on, next contest. Featherweight division as Lucas Almeida takes on the Texas kid, Michael Aswell. Lucas, 15-4. Michael is 10-3. 5'11" to 5'8", 3 inches in height for Lucas Almeida, and 2 inches in reach, 71 inches to 69 inches. Ooh, orthodox stance for both of our gentlemen. Plus 135. Lucas Almeida is the underdog at minus 160. Michael Aswell is the favorite, which is a bit odd as Lucas Almeida is a very unstellar 2-3 in the UFC. He ain't done much. He's 34 years old from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and has 14 finishes of his 15 wins, 9 KOs and 5 subs. Of his 5 defeats, he's been finished twice. He has currently been on a rough streak as of late. He would fight on Dana White's Contender Series in Season 5, losing to Daniel Zaluber. After that, he would win 1 fight before getting signed to the UFC to then take on Michael Trizano in a very entertaining fight of the night, but that was in June of 2022. After that, he would get submitted by Pat Sabatini, knocked out by Andre Fili, and then pick up his last win he got in June of 2024 over Timmy Kawamba. His lone fight this year was a split decision loss to Danny Silva in the Apex. So Lucas Almeida has literally done absolutely nothing so far. Of his 4 career losses, they've all came under UFC banner promotions, or the Dana White's Contender Series, or just straight up the UFC. Now, as for his new opponent, Michael Aswell. Michael's coming in, 25 years old, younger, the favorite, minus 160. He's from Houston, trains out a 4-ounce fight club. One of the more notable fighters from that gym you may know, Joshua Van. Of his 10 wins, he has 5 KOs. He's never been finished of his 3 defeats. He fought on Dana White's Contender Series back on Season 8, losing to Bogdan Grad despite landing 155 significant strikes. He would then take on Bellagio Key earlier this year in a Apex card in May and lose. He would lose in that fight. But you know what? He didn't look totally unimpressive. He managed to make it a close fight. Won round number 3, for goodness sakes. You know, one of the rounds that matters the most. So we'll see how he does here against Lucas Almeida. Lucas Almeida is the underdog here, though, which I will say is super appetizing, especially with this being not the best of fights. Like, I don't really know what to go off of here. Like, Bellagio Key isn't the best fighter per se, and Michael Aswell did lose to him, but Lucas Almeida really hasn't been doing nothing. Like, I mean, this dude has really been unimpressive, if you ask me. So, I'm actually going to go with Michael Aswell here. We're going to go with another American over another Brazilian. I don't know if it's going to pay off, but something's just telling me Michael Aswell is not going to get this one done. Plus the age gap, yeah. We're going to go with Michael Aswell for Lucas Almeida. Let's just say a boring 3-round decision. With that, we get into our main card, and kicking it off, we head to the men's featherweight division as we have Ricardo Ramos taking on Con Genghis Offley. Yeah, Genghis nickname, that's freaking awesome. Ricardo Ramos is 17-7. Con Offley is 12-4-1. 5'9" to 5'7", 2 inches in height for Ricardo Ramos, and 6 inches in reach for Ramos. My goodness, 72 inches at 66. Orthodox stance for both of our fighters. Ricardo, big favorite here, -210, +170 for Genghis Con Offley. Ooh. Ricardo Ramos is 30 years old from Sao Paulo, but trains out of Team Alpha Male in the United States. Of his 17 wins, 11 finishes, 4 KOs, and 7 subs. Of his 7 defeats, he has been finished 5 times. He currently holds a record of 8-6 in the UFC, and as of late, just hasn't been getting it done. Debuted in 2017 and actually holds a spinning back elbow knockout against Amin Zahabi. His first career loss was to Said Nurmagomedov before picking up 2 more wins in 2019. In 2020, he would lose by round 1 knockout to Leron Murphy. After going loss, win, he would finally pick up a fight against Chepe Mariscal earlier this year, and he would lose by unanimous decision. So, Ricardo Ramos, I don't know what you've been doing with your life, buddy, but clearly it's been nothing impressive as you're 1-3 in your last 4. But, to be fair, see how he does against the man who honestly is also on a losing streak in Con Offley. Genghis Con Offley is 32 years old from Melbourne, Australia. Of his 12 wins, 7 finishes, 2 KOs, and 5 subs, and he was actually the runner-up on The Ultimate Fighter Season 32. That was back in August of 2024, where he was knocked out in round 2 to Myron Santos. He would fight earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, dropping a decision to Muhammad Naimov. And if you guys want to know how just close this is, I legit have no idea who's winning this. I'm going to be honest. I just can't even put my finger on it. Because Ricardo Ramos, I've seen him get good wins before, but legit, his last good win was Danny Chavez. No idea who that is. June 2022. And as for Con Offley, technically doesn't even hold a win under UFC promotion. So Con Offley's a good underdog pick here. I think this is fairly easy, fairly even. Let's go with Con Offley here. 32 years old. Genghis is his nickname, and I kind of rock with that. Final heavyweight matchup of the evening in our 4th to last fight as Renata Diaz takes on Mario Pinto. Another close one here. Diaz is 9-1. Mario is 10-0. 6'4" to 6'5", 1 inch in height for Mario Pinto. Both men hold a 79-inch reach, and both men stand in the orthodox fighting position. Renata +115. Mario -140. Renata Diaz, 34 years old from Parana, Brazil. Of his 9 wins, 7 knockouts. Actually holds a 10-5 kickboxing record. So this man actually used to be in kickboxing before fully transitioning to MMA. Of his 9 wins, 6 have came in round number 1. Came off of Season 7 of DWCS Contender Series where he got a round 1 knockout. He would debut in 2024 going 2-1. His only decision loss was to Marcin Tybura, who actually, technically TKO'd him, but they stopped it after round number 2, which basically just meant he couldn't continue. Came back earlier this year at UFC 317, beating Alvin Hines, but to be honest, that was a very lackluster performance from Diaz. Dude easily could have put Hines out of there. I know Hines was juicing, but to be fair, Diaz, come on, he wasn't that good. I just want to throw that out. He wasn't the best fighter, if I'm being honest. So, Renata coming back, looking decent, but he's taking on a guy 7 years younger. The favorite, the -140, Mario Pinto. Mario, 27 years young from Portugal, now trains out of London. Of his 10 wins, 7 finishes, 6 KOs, and 1 sub. He fought on the last season of DWCS Contender Series where he got a 2-minute knockout on episode 9. He would debut on this UFC Fight Night Cape and Almabayev. I swear so many fighters from this card have fought on here. He would get dropped by Austin Layton in round number 1 before coming back in round 2 and absolutely putting his lights out cold. It was so entertaining. Look, Mario Pinto didn't look the best in that. He walked away at the end of the day with a highlight reel knockout, but he didn't look the best. However, I am going to hope that was just a fluke moment to round 1 getting dropped by Austin Lane. I'm going to hope. I really am. But I'm torn here, guys. I really am. If no one knows, I do make my predictions live on the pod, and Mario looked good in round 2, but round 1 he looked kind of sloppy. And as for Renata Diaz, I have seen some stuff from him, but You know what, boys? I'm going to go with Mario Pinto. From what I saw getting a highlight reel knockout last time out, he has the knockout power, but I'm going to need to see him deliver if that's going to be the case. So, Mario Pinto over Nada Diaz, round 1 knockout. We'll see if it takes place. Now, with that, we get into what I will call the big 3 for this card, the 3 main fights that are most interesting to me. Kicking us off, we head to the men's welterweight division, and we have a newbie in the welterweight division as Vicente, the Silent Assassin Luque, welcomes Joel El Fenomeno Alvarez. That's right, Joel Alvarez is back in the UFC. Vicente Luque is 23-11 with 1 draw. Joel is 22-3. 6'3" to 5'11", 4 inches in height for Joel Alvarez, and 2 inches in reach, 77 inches and 75. Orthodox stance for both fighters. Vicente is coming in at plus 360. Joel Alvarez is the favorite at minus 500. Seemingly insane. Vicente, 33 years old, born in New Jersey, but now actually fights out of Brasilia, Brazil. Of his 23 wins, 20 finishes, 11 KOs, and 9 subs. Of his 11 defeats, he's been finished 5 times. He currently has a 16-7 record in the UFC and was originally supposed to fight Santiago Ponzinibbio, which would have been such an easy fight. Instead, he gets Joel Alvarez, which is just going to be, probably a murder. Probably a murder, if you ask me. Vicente Luque at one point was on an incredible run to start off his UFC career. I mean, this man was a overwhelmingly good 13-3. All right, he was 13-3, and then unfortunately ran into Prime Bilal Muhammad in 2022, dropped a 5-round boring decision. After that, he would get knocked out for the first time in his career by Jeff Neal before coming back in April of 2023, getting a win over Rafael dos Anjos in the main event. He would then get finished again by Joaquin Buckley in a very suspicious fight back in March of 2024. It looked like he took a dive. I don't know if he did, but it kind of looked like it. Then to end off December of 2024, he would get a 52-second anaconda choke over Themba Rimbo. But then earlier this year at UFC 316, he would take on Kevin Holland and get anaconda choked in round 2 and just looked a step behind Kevin Holland the entire fight. I think Vicente Luque, is kind of done now. He's 2-4 in his last 6. Just hasn't looked the same that he used to back in his prime. And they're feeding him to an absolute monster here in Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez, 32 years old, so only 1 year younger. From Spain, 5 KOs, 17 subs. That's right, he has a 100% finish rate. This man is utterly insane. He was actually supposed to fight Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC 315 and unfortunately had to pull out. Last time he fought was December of 2024 when he absolutely massacred Jakar Kloss in round number 1, only needing 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Other wins: round 2 TKO of Elvis Brenner, round 2 submission of Mark Diakise, round 1 finish of Thiago Moises, round 1 armbar of Alexander Yakev, round 1 submission of Joe Duffy, and a round 2 TKO in his debut. His only UFC losses: Demirim Smagulov, and last time out, February 2022, Arman Tsarukyan. So, last guy that he lost to is now the number 1 ranked lightweight in the world in his main event UFC Qatar card. So, Joel Alvarez looking dominant as ever. I know he's been out for 8 months, or actually 10 months now. So, I don't think it's going to stop him, though. I got Joel Alvarez, round 1 knockout. I think he's really going to bring it to Vicente Luque, drop him, maybe lock his submission, but certainly Joel Alvarez will get this one done. Now, let's get into the co-main event and main event because I'm actually in so much shock at the odds makers here. I have no words whatsoever. As we head into the co-main event, we have the men's former flyweight champion, Davison Daus de Guerra, God of War Figueiredo, taking on Montel Quick Jackson. Davison's ranked number 6. Montel's ranked number 15. Davison is the plus 220 underdog to the minus 280 favorite that is Montel Jackson. What? How in the world? I have no idea, but I absolutely love it secretly. Figueiredo, 24-5 with a draw. Montel, 15 wins, 2 defeats. 5'10 to 5'5", 5 inches in height for Montel, and a notable 7 inches in reach, 75 to 68. Southpaw stance for Montel, orthodox for Figueiredo. So size, age, definitely in favor of Montel Jackson. But Figueiredo, he's 37. People still forget. From Para, Brazil, 9 KOs, 9 subs, 18 of 24 wins by finish. Of his 5 defeats, he's been finished 3 times. He currently has gone 13-5-1 in the UFC. This man, we all know him, we all love him. Rise to the top was legendary. Main eventing UFC 255 and 256. Had that, a quadrilogy? quadrilogy with Brandon Moreno, legendary. He would move up to bantamweight in December of 2023, beating Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt at UFC 300, and then being the first man to ever knock down Marlon Vera at UFC Saudi Arabia in August of 2024. Unfortunately, he would run into Peter Yan to end off 2024 in China, dropping a decision, would come back earlier this year in May and injure his leg before getting unofficially TKO'd by Corey Sandhagen in round number 2. In that fight, he did land 2 takedowns where Corey was really getting the better of him. Corey Sandhagen won round 1 predominantly, and round 2 was looking more so in his favor. But to be fair, he did get injured. So we do have to mention that when we bring up the fact that, he did get TKO'd, but it was kind of a knee injury that halted him. So Figgy's back at plus 220, and they're clearly riding with the minus 280 man here. And Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson is 33 years old from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's currently on a 6-fight winning streak with 3 round 1 knockouts. And out of his career 15 wins, he has 9 finishes, 8 KOs, and 1 sub. He would debut in the UFC coming off of Season 2 of Dana White's Contender Series, where he got a round 3 knockout, losing his decision in a debut to Ricky Simone. He had followed that up with 3 straight wins before running into Brett Johns, who would be the last man to defeat him in 2020. 2021 saw him go 2-0, including dropping JP Buys 4 times and dropping Jesse Strader twice, earning himself 6 knockdowns in a 2-fight span. He would continue his knockdown streak, knocking down Julio Arce to a decision in 2022, before then knocking out Rani Yaha in April of 2023. The biggest win of his career to date has been Damon Blackshear in July of 2024, who he knocked out in an outstanding 18 seconds. His last win was in Iowa in May when he defeated Daniel Marcos by unanimous decision. That was a rather boring fight. At the end of the day, it was just Montel Jackson avoiding takedowns, occasionally landing a takedown or landing bigger strikes than Daniel Marcos. Wasn't anything too impressive. And if I'm being honest, this is just a big jump for Montel Jackson. And one thing I've seen all year is that when I see guys like Marcus McGee come in and try and make a jump, it just doesn't work. It really doesn't. So I'm going with Figueiredo to beat Montel Jackson. Dare I say maybe get into the finish category. But if Montel Jackson does win this, he'll go from basically unranked, being just given the 15th spot to show he was ranked, to being the number 6 guy in the world, which would be really incredible. I am going to ride with Figgy here at plus 220. He is an appetizing underdog. And yeah, I think he gets this one done against Montel Jackson. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our main event as the number 4 ranked lightweight on the planet, the great, the legendary Charles Oliveira, takes on the number 8 ranked Mateusz Gamrot. Wow, I get to see Charles Oliveira fight again this year. What a good year for me. Du Bronx, of course, 35-11, won no contest. Mateusz Gamrot, 25-3. He also has a no contest. Both men are 5'10". 4 inches in reach for Charles, 74-70. Orthodox for Charles, southpaw for Mateusz Gamrot. Odds makers, I kid you not, Charles plus 100. Why is Oliveira always an underdog? How does he do it to himself? Gamrot is currently in the minus 130 favorite. Makes no sense. Charles Oliveira, you know him, you love him. I've talked about him so many times on the pod. 35 years old, from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Of his 35 wins, 31 finishes, 10 KOs, and 21 subs. Of his 11 defeats, he's been finished 9 times. He's currently 23-11 in the UFC, as this will be his 35th professional bout in the UFC. This man, of course, was supposed to fight Rafael Fiziev. Unfortunately, Rafael Fiziev pulled out. Shocker. So in will step Mateusz Gamrot. Charles, where do I even begin with him? Came in on one of the longest winning streaks of all time after having a very awkward run to kick off his UFC career. He would rise to greatness, defeating Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje in back-to-back fights before running into Islam Makhachev. He would then knock out Beneil Dariush in June of 2023 before losing at UFC 300 in a close split decision to Arman Tsarukyan. Would come back UFC 309 in November, getting his last win, a fight of the night 5-rounder against Michael Chandler. He would then come back and take on Ian Topuria for the lightweight championship in June of this year, getting knocked out cold in 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So people are saying, oh, Charles is turning around too quick, he's going to get knocked out cold again. Yeah, I don't see him. I really don't. I think Charles makes work of Mateusz Gamrot and shows him who's boss. But, let's talk about Mateusz Gamrot first. He's stepping on short notice. Props to him. 34 years old from Poland. 13 of his 25 wins by finish. 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. Never been finished. Of his 3 defeats, I do think that is notable. He has never been finished before in his career. He's currently 8-3 in the UFC. And, his finishing days are apparently behind him. I mean, at one point, this man lost the fight of the night to Guram Kaladze in his debut. Should have won that fight. Followed that up with 3 straight finishes, including winning a fight of the night against Arman Tsarukyan. That was crazy. He would then get humbled by Beneil Dariush in 2022 before following it up with a win over Jalen Turner and Rafael Vaziev in 2023. He would start off 2024 beating Rafael dos Anjos before losing one of the best fights of the year against Dan Hooker in August. His lone fight of the year was that May 2025 fight against Ludwig Klein, which oddly enough ended up being the main event to an extent. He would just use his grappling in that, though, and, went 6 of 11, 8.5 minutes of control time. Fairly boring. Look, Matus could pull off a big win here, enter the top 5, which would be crazy, but, I mean, really? Matus Gamrot's going to have to hold down Charles for 5 rounds, and I just don't see that being the case. I see Charles Oliveira clipping him good. We already know Matus Gamrot has a sus chin, and even if Matus brings it to the ground, I'm fairly confident in Charles Oliveira's grappling abilities to lock up a submission. So, Charles Oliveira over Matus Gamrot to end the night, and with that, out of our 13 fights, I resisted picking Brazilians in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. 6. Okay, so I resisted. So out of the majority, I picked the majority of these for the Brazilians, but I resisted in some of them. I really did. And actually, I just realized I counted wrong. I did not pick Brazilians in only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I did my math wrong. So 8 of the 13 fights I picked Brazilians in. But still, I do think Brazil is going to have themselves some good luck on this card, really get things done. And, should be a fun card. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for today's episode. Another long episode. I've missed these 2-hour episodes. What fun we have together. But, yeah, UFC Rio is going to be a fantastic card. On the same day, you can watch Crown Jewel. You can literally watch WWE Crown Jewel into UFC Rio. That's how they have it synced. Go check out him in theaters if you haven't already. DWCS Contender Series. Go rewatch some of those finishes. Go rewatch that fight between the second last fight of the card, whoever it was, Mark Vologden, dude. That fight was insane. And yeah, let me know your Week 6 NFL quick picks. A lot of fun stuff, guys. Life just moves along. Life is funny. Life is fun. And we're here to talk about everything that you could ever want to talk about on the podcast. That's what we're all about here. So have a great weekend, everyone. I hope your October continues to roll along at a fun pace. And I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.